Hi, my name is Kara, and in today's IELTS speaking lesson video, we are going to talk about holiday, vacation, places you've been to. Your examiner might ask you, where have you gone on vacation before? Or where will you go on vacation next? So let's learn some phrases to talk about travel. Number one on our list, we have take a vacation or go on a vacation to somewhere. They both mean the same thing, take a vacation or go on a vacation. You can use this phrase instead of travel if you are saying travel too much in your response. Take a vacation means that you stop your work or you stop your school to visit somewhere. So, for example, if you are talking about the future, you can say, I will take a vacation to Thailand, or I will go on a vacation to Thailand with my family next winter. If you've already gone on the vacation, you can instead say, I took a vacation to Thailand, or I went on a vacation to Thailand. Both of these phrases work instead of travel, okay? Next on our list, we have take a sightseeing tour of somewhere. This means that you hire a guide, hire a person to show you around an area. They take you to different places. Now notice here, they'll show you more than one place during a sightseeing tour. So, for example, I could say, I took, before, a sightseeing tour of London. We hired a guide and he showed us so many different places around London. Or, for the future tense, I will take a sightseeing tour of London when I go there next fall. Sound good? Number 3 on our list, go sightseeing. This just means that you see the sights. You go to interesting places. Interesting places. Now, to go sightseeing, you do not need to hire a guide the way you do need to during a sightseeing tour. So here, hire a guide. You don't need to do that when you go sightseeing. You can do it by yourself. For example, when I went to London, I went sightseeing and I saw Big Ben. Sound good? Next, we have go on a cruise. When you go on a cruise, you are on a very big ship, a large boat. And you go from city to city to city while you are on the cruise. So you could say, last winter I went on a cruise in the Caribbean with my family. Or next Christmas I will go on a cruise with my family in the Caribbean. Sound okay? All right. Next on our list, we have sign up for a guided tour or sign up for guided tours. Now, guided tours are a little different from sightseeing tours because they're usually just in one place, in a small area. So here I will write one place. They are for a specific part of a city. Now, sometimes they cost money and sometimes they are free. So, they may or may not cost money and they're usually just in one place. I could say, my family and I signed up for a guided tour of a castle in Germany. Or, we will sign up for a guided tour when we visit Switzerland, so we see everything there is to see. Sound good? Okay, let's move on to next on our list. Come on package holiday. This means that all your expenses are together. your travel, your accommodation, your food, your activities, everything you will need to pay for on vacation is all together in one price. People like going on package holiday because they don't need to worry about money during their vacation. So you could say, my family and I prefer to come on package holiday when we go on vacation, so we don't need to worry about money. Okay? Cool. Next on our list, travel during the off-season. Off-season is talking about the time of year when not a lot of people are traveling. So, not a lot of people traveling off-season. Traveling during the off-season can be really nice because it's usually cheaper and places aren't so crowded. For example, you could say, I went to the Coliseum during the off-season, so it wasn't too crowded and I got a lot of nice pictures. Off-season changes, it depends where you are in the world, but usually in the West, off-season is from November until March, okay? So all it means is not a lot of people are traveling then. If you don't travel during the off-season, then it will be crowded and more expensive. You could tell your examiner, I wish I had traveled during the off-season because when I went to the Coliseum, it was too crowded. Sound good? All right, let's move on to have the time of my life. Or you could also say the holiday of a lifetime. That means you went on the best trip ever. You went on a vacation so good, you will never forget the wonderful time you had. So you could say, when I went to Jordan last year, I had the time of my life. Or, I really, really want to go to Egypt. I really think it would be the holiday of a lifetime. Best trip ever. Okay, now it's time to focus on words that describe tourist attraction. Words to talk about the specific things you saw while you were on your vacation. So let's dive right in. First, we have scenic and scenery. These words are obviously related, but they're a little different. So let's take a look. Scenic is an adjective, ADJ. That means you need to use it with a noun. So I might describe a scenic tour. For example, I went on a scenic tour of the countryside in Switzerland. So you can see there I use it with a noun. Scenic tour, scenic hike, scenic sightseeing, what have you. Whereas scenery is a noun. So I'll put N for noun. This, you can talk about perhaps ocean scenery. Perhaps you could say the ocean scenery in the Philippines is so beautiful. Or the mountainous scenery in Switzerland is to die for. So beautiful to see. Next word that we have, see a breathtaking view of something. Breathtaking is when something is so amazing, it takes your breath away. So you stop breathing because you're so excited. So, breathtaking takes your breath. An example of this I might use is for Petra. So I have been to Petra before, so instead of saying see, I would say saw. I saw a breathtaking view of Petra while I was in Jordan. So think of amazing places you've seen that took your breath away and tell your examiner, I saw a breathtaking view of this while I was on vacation. Next, we have sandy beach or rocky beach. So when you go to the beach by the ocean, look down at your feet. Is it sandy or is it rocky? An example of a place with a sandy beach might be Mexico. You could tell your examiner, I stayed at a beautiful white sandy beach while I was vacationing in Mexico. Or we also have rocky beaches, lots of rocks, big boulders all around you. You might be more likely to see this at a lake, a freshwater lake. So you could tell your examiner, I went on vacation to a rocky beach in a lake in Canada. Okay, next we have touristy, or having hordes of tourists. That word might feel a little weird, so you can practice having hordes of tourists. Hordes means so much, so many tourists, too many people. Too many people, too many tourists in one spot. An example of a place that you might describe as touristy is the Colosseum, right? People from all over the world are always going there to take a look. You could say, I went to Rome and really enjoyed my time there, but the Colosseum was a little too touristy for me. You could also say, I went to the Colosseum, but it had hordes of tourists, so it was difficult to take a nice picture there. And then last, we have not for the faint-hearted. Faint-hearted means you are timid, shy. You get scared easily. You don't like to take big risks. So this whole phrase, not for the faint-hearted, means you need to be brave to enjoy this sight. An example of a famous sight that might not be for the faint-hearted is the catacombs. You could say, I went to the catacombs while I was visiting Paris, but it is not for the faint-hearted because there are dead bodies everywhere. Okay, last for today's lesson, we are going to talk about places to stay on holiday. Your examiner will ask you, where do you usually like to stay when you go on vacation? So we will go over different places to stay, and you can practice which response is best for you. Number 1 on our list, we have holiday resorts. These are the best places to eat, drink, sleep, and play. These are big places where you will not only go to bed at night, but you also have restaurants to eat, bars to drink, and they usually will host activities where you can play with your friends and family. So if your examiner asks you, where do you usually like to stay on vacation? You could say, I always try to go to a holiday resort because everything I want is taken care of right there. Sound good? Okay, let's move on to number 2, self-catering apartments. So, catering is talking about getting food to you. Self is you. Therefore, a self-catering apartment is somewhere you can cook for yourself. It doesn't have a restaurant like at a holiday resort. So, you could perhaps tell your examiner, I prefer to stay at a self-catering apartment when I go on vacation because I like cooking for myself and it is less expensive. Sound good? Okay, let's move on to number 3. We have bed and breakfast. As the name might suggest, this is a place where you can sleep and in the morning when you wake up, they will serve you breakfast. As the name also suggests, they don't give you lunch and dinner. So you have the opportunity to go to sleep, wake up, eat breakfast, and then go out for your day. So maybe you'll tell your examiner, I prefer to stay at bed and breakfast because then I don't have to worry what I will eat in the morning, but I am free to go out on my own in the afternoon and evening. And then last, we have youth hostels. You can also just say hostels if you prefer. These places are cheap. They don't cost a lot of money, but they're not the nicest accommodations while you are on vacation. They also usually have a shared space. This means that you probably won't have a bed in your own room. You probably won't have your own bathroom. A youth hostel shares these spaces. So you will sleep together, you will have a shared bathroom together, and they are usually used by young people because they are so cheap. So perhaps you could tell your examiner, when I was younger, I usually enjoyed going to youth hostels when I went on vacation because I didn't have a lot of money. But now that I'm older, I prefer to stay at bed and breakfast because they are much nicer.
Hi, I'm Teacher Neil. Last week, Teacher Kara was teaching you about travel and travel destinations. And this week, we will continue on with what she has already taught. And we will start with vocabulary to describe the places you want to travel to. So, if you get asked, if you go on holiday or vacation, what kind of places do you like to go to? Or what activities do you like to do? Or where do you like to go when you travel? You can use these useful phrases to describe in detail what you really want to say. So, let's start. Number 1. Somewhere off the beaten track, or untouched, pristine nature or pristine landscapes. So, what that means is you go to some place that many people don't usually go to. So these are uncommon places or not the usual places. So, if someone asks you a question, you can say, you know, when I travel, I like to go somewhere off the beaten track. I don't want to go to where everyone else goes to. You can also use the word untouched. Untouched means that not a lot of cities, you know, it is very natural, not a lot of human influence. Pristine also means it is very new, it is unspoiled, it is untouched by human hands, it is still very natural. So you can use these two words to describe things like nature or a landscape. A landscape, of course, is the view of the nature. So you can say, when I like to travel, I like to go to untouched places. I like to see pristine nature, and I like to see beautiful landscapes somewhere off the beaten track where I know there will not be a lot of tourists. Speaking of tourists, let's look at these words to describe some tourist places. Tourist traps. Now, of course, if you don't know what a trap means it will catch you and you can't get out. So what a tourist trap means is it is a place that always attracts and catches the tourists, and maybe they won't want to leave for a little while. So there will always be a lot of people because it is a big attraction. So you can say, when I travel, I try to avoid the tourist traps because I don't like to be surrounded by too many people. But that does not stop me from going to a tourist attraction. An attraction, of course, the word attract means it will bring you to it. So you want to go. And that includes words such as an iconic landmark. Iconic means very famous. So an iconic landmark is something that when you open a travel book, it will say you have to go there. It is a very famous place. So that will usually be a tourist attraction. Holiday destination, of course, means destination means place. So it just means a holiday place, but usually when we use the word holiday destination, it is also a famous or popular place. So you can say, when I go on vacation, I like to go to famous holiday destinations. I like to see the tourist attractions, and I always make sure to visit the iconic landmarks because I like to take pictures of them and show to my friends. Moving on, local places of interest. So, you will probably see this word in a travel book or in a travel guide. So, when you want to go to a place, let's say to Spain, it will say local places of interest. Interest means interesting, of course, so places people would want to go to. Local places of interest include the beach, the market, or the very popular iconic landmark. So you can say, when I go on vacation, I always make sure to look at the local places of interest like the iconic landmarks. Moving on. Metropolitan cities. Metropolitan cities. Metropolitan means very big or very crowded. For example, Tokyo. Tokyo is a very famous metropolitan city. So you can say either, I love metropolitan cities, I love the energy of big places, and I like to meet people from all around the world. Or you can say, I try to avoid metropolitan cities. I prefer somewhere off the beaten track where I can see the untouched landscapes. Backpacking destinations, of course, means destinations we know means a place. And backpacking is if you take all your things on a backpack and you go and move from place to place to place. It's not like you will stay in one hotel all the time. Backpacking usually means there will be a lot of traveling. So, for example, if you go to Europe or Spain, you can say, me and my wife, we like to go to many backpacking destinations, and we will go from hostel to hostel and just backpack everywhere and stay with new people and experience new things. Moving on, historic sites and heritage site. So historic comes from the word history. So that will mean it is famous because of the history of the site. The site means the place or the area. And heritage usually means that it is very important to the people's culture or their history. So you can say, when I go traveling, I like to visit the historic sites and the heritage sites because I like to learn more about the culture and learn more about the history of the people. And that is the end of our lesson on vocabulary of places that you would want to travel to.